Have you ever thought you had people all figured out? That you were a great judge of character, able to see the good in others just by looking at them? Today, we're diving into a story that takes that very idea and smashes it to pieces. This is Sunil Gangopadhyay's masterpiece, 44 Taka Dosiana, a story about a man whose pride in his own judgment leads him to a devastating, unforgettable lesson. Our protagonist is Suprakash, a man who isn't just buying groceries, he's conducting a field study. For him, the daily market trip is a practical application of social science. He fancies himself an amateur anthropologist, a philosopher of the marketplace. He doesn't just see vendors, he sees characters. There's the coconut seller, who is always a woman, he notes. There's a pomfret seller, with the stoic face of Humphrey Bogart. And then there's his favorite, a humble vegetable seller with unusually long, delicate fingers. Suprakash secretly nicknames him Sitarist, the Sitarist, imagining he could have been a great musician. Suprakash operates on a few core beliefs. First, he believes good people attract good people. He's convinced he never gets cheated because he doesn't just inspect the vegetables. He inspects the person selling them. He picks people, not produce. Second, he believes that by personally choosing his family's food, he infuses it with his willpower, making it healthier. And third, he is certain that the only way to truly understand the country is to feel the sting of daily expenses, a reality you can't grasp from reading newspapers. He's confident, maybe a little arrogant, and completely unprepared for what's coming next. One day, the story's fuse is lit. Suprakash is at the market and buys 2 cabbages from Sitarist. He hands over a 50 Taka note. The change is exactly 44 Taka and 12 Anna, but the seller hesitates. He doesn't launch into a dramatic sob story. With simple, direct honesty, he explains that his money was stolen on the train by what he calls a damned thief. With a pregnant wife at home and no money to pay his supplier, he's ruined. He needs the exact amount of change Suprakash is owed. 44 Taka and 12 Anna. Instead of suspicion, Suprakash feels a wave of pride. This isn't a scam, it's a validation. Out of everyone in the bustling market, Sitarist chose him as the trustworthy one. His theory about picking good people feels proven. Plus, he has another 50 Taka note in his pocket, so it's a low-risk act of generosity. He tells the seller to keep the change, and walks home feeling a light sort of proud happiness. His worldview perfectly intact. But this single act of trust is about to become the source of his greatest anxiety. When Suprakash gets home and tells his wife Sharmati she's not impressed, she immediately punctures his pride, saying, "You think you know people, but actually, they have figured you out, figured out who to cheat." She reminds him of a 300 Taka loan he once gave to a man named Naputa, which was never repaid. Suprakash brushes it off, but her words plant a seed of doubt. 5 days pass. He returns to the market, and his confidence begins to crumble. Sitarist's usual spot is empty. The doubt starts to feel heavy, and then, it happens. From a distance, Suprakash spots him. He sees the familiar torn shirt, the green towel, the dhoti, but Sitarist isn't coming to greet him. He's darting away, disappearing down a side alley, clearly avoiding him. The sight is devastating for Suprakash, but it's not about the money, it's a deep, personal wound, a narcissistic injury. Sitarist didn't just run from a debt, he shattered Suprakash's entire self-image. By running away, the seller assumed Suprakash was the kind of petty man who could unbear to lose a small sum of money, even for the sake of his faith in another person. The man he had judged as honorable had, in turn, judged him as dishonorable. Days later, Suprakash finds Sitarist again, tucked away in a desolate corner of the market. His vibrant vegetable stall is gone, replaced by a tiny basket holding just a few chilies and beans. When Suprakash confronts him, the seller makes a proposal that turns Suprakash's gesture of trust into something ugly and transactional. First, he offers to pay interest. "I usually give 10 paisa on the rupee," he says. "But for you, Babu, 5 paisa." For a middle-class man like Suprakash, this is a cultural insult. It strips the act of its kindness and turns it into a cold, commercial loan. When Suprakash refuses, the seller makes another offer. He'll repaid the debt with a daily handful of chilies and beans, an offer so small it feels like a mockery. Suprakash is overwhelmed by what Bengalis call abhemorn, a potent cocktail of hurt, pride, and bitter disappointment. His initial pride came from being chosen as trustworthy. Now, his abhiman comes from seeing that trust treated with such contempt. He feels his judgment was completely wrong, and he resolves to avoid the seller, letting the emotional wound fester. But the story isn't over. After days of avoidance, the final confrontation happens. Suprakash is at the market gate when Sitarist appears, looking thinner, his eyes burning with intensity as he smokes a cheap beedi. He doesn't waste a second. "I have sold everything, Babu," he declares, his voice raw. "I have dismantled my entire domestic life." He's not just talking about selling furniture. He's talking about giving up his home, his family, his entire existence. Before the stunned Suprakash can even process this, the seller grabs his hand. He forcefully presses the full 44 Taka and 12 Ana into his palm, and spits out with desperate, ragged anger, "I am not such a scoundrel that I would be ungrateful." Then, he turns and vanishes into the crowd. Suprakash is left standing there, holding the money. It's his, legally. But it feels impure, dirty in his hand. He can't bring himself to put it in his pocket. He understands what this money truly represents. It's not just currency anymore. It's the physical symbol of another man's complete and utter ruin, the price paid to preserve his own honor in the face of crushing poverty. To get rid of this tainted symbol, Suprakash does something impulsive. He spots a fishmonger and buys a large, expensive Ilish fish, a favorite of his son, by transforming the money from a token of one man's devastation into an act of love for his family. He finds a brief moment of relief, of **SHOSTI**. In the end, Suprakash's journey is a brutal one. He starts as a confident armchair philosopher and ends as a man humbled by a painful, complex reality. His encounter with Sitarist taught him that for some, honor is a currency more valuable than life itself, and that sometimes, the cost of being proven right is far heavier than the cost of being wrong. This story forces us to ask ourselves, what is the true price of dignity? And what do we really know about the people we meet every day? Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you, please hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into literature, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.